Cancer has long been understood as a disease driven by genetic mutations, a rogue cell multiplying uncontrollably, disregarding the body's regulatory mechanisms. However, emerging perspectives suggest that cancer might also be viewed as a form of cellular identity crisis, where cells lose their sense of self within the body and revert to a more primitive state. This regression, much like a dissociative identity disorder at the cellular level, is not merely the result of random mutations, but can be triggered by disruptions in the bioelectric communication that unifies a multicellular organism. Modern environmental factors, such as electromagnetic radiation from cell phones, introduce what we can call entropic waste, which can confuse cells and push them toward this dangerous regression. In this exploration, we will delve into how cancer represents this reversion to ancient cellular behaviors, the crucial role of bioelectric signals in maintaining cellular identity, and the impact of entropic waste on these delicate networks. Understanding cancer as a cellular identity crisis. Rethinking cancer cells. Cancer cells are often described as selfish, prioritizing their survival over the needs of the organism. But this perspective might oversimplify a more complex reality. Instead of being inherently selfish, cancer cells might be better understood as cells that have lost their sense of self within the organism. They no longer recognize their role in the body's complex system, leading them to operate independently, much like ancient unicellular organisms. This loss of identity and cooperation can be likened to a form of dissociative identity disorder at the cellular level, where the boundary between self and non-self becomes blurred. The cognitive light cone model. The cognitive light cone model provides a useful framework for understanding this phenomenon. According to this model, cancer cells are not more selfish, they simply have a smaller sense of self. They begin to prioritize local short-term goals, focusing only on immediate survival rather than the well-being of the entire organism. This regression leads to a breakdown in the cooperative behavior that is essential for the functioning of a multicellular organism, driving the cells to treat the rest of the body as an external environment rather than a part of themselves. The Atavistic theory of cancer. The Atavistic theory of cancer suggests that this regression is not just a random malfunction, but a reversion to a more primitive cellular state. Long before the evolution of complex multicellular organisms, single-celled ancestors thrived by focusing solely on their immediate needs. Cancer cells, according to this theory, are essentially reverting to these ancient behaviors. They abandon the cooperative strategies necessary for multicellular life and return to a mode of survival that was advantageous in the unicellular world. In the early stages of life on Earth, single-celled organisms had to fend for themselves in a hostile environment, with no need to cooperate with other cells. The behaviors that allowed these cells to survive and reproduce were encoded in their DNA, and remnants of these ancient strategies remain within our cells today. Under normal circumstances, these primitive behaviors are suppressed by the complex regulatory mechanisms that have evolved to maintain multicellular life. However, when these regulatory mechanisms break down, due to mutations, environmental stressors, or other factors, these ancient behaviors can reemerge, leading to the development of cancer. Studies supporting the atavistic theory of cancer have shown that cancer cells often exhibit behaviors reminiscent of ancient unicellular organisms. For example, cancer cells tend to prioritize rapid growth and reproduction, much like their single-celled ancestors. They also often lose the ability to differentiate into specialized cell types, another characteristic of early life forms. This reversion to a primitive state can be seen as a fallback to the default settings encoded in the DNA of our distant ancestors. While genetic mutations play a role in cancer development, they do not tell the whole story. Cells within a multicellular organism communicate and coordinate their activities through complex networks of bioelectric signals. These signals, which involve electric and magnetic potentials, create a bioelectric network that unifies trillions of cells, allowing them to function together as one cohesive unit. Bioelectric signals are not just a byproduct of cellular activity. They are a fundamental language that cells use to interpret their environment and maintain their identity within the organism. These signals form a complex, space-occupying memory within a continuum of space, guiding cells in their interactions with one another and ensuring that they work together to support the organism's overall goals. Space-occupying memory and bioelectric patterns. The concept of space-occupying memory refers to the idea that bioelectric patterns within an organism create a kind of memory that occupies physical space. This memory is not static. It is dynamic and constantly adapting to changes in the environment. These bioelectric patterns are responsible for maintaining the structural and functional integrity of the organism, ensuring that each cell knows its place and role within the larger system. This bioelectric memory is crucial for the survival of multicellular organisms. It allows cells to maintain their identity and function in harmony with their neighbors, even in the face of external stressors. When this bioelectric memory is disrupted, however, cells can lose their way, leading to the kind of cellular confusion that characterizes cancer. The genomic code and mitochondrial DNA. The genomic code serves as the most compressed storage of the default bioelectric patterns that define an organism's structure and function. It acts as the blueprint for the bioelectric network, encoding the instructions that guide the development and maintenance of the organism. However, the genomic code is not the only player in this complex system. Mitochondria, the energy-producing organelles within cells, also have their own DNA, and they play a crucial role in maintaining the bioelectric stability of the organism. Mitochondria as an LLM within an LLM. Mitochondria can be thought of as a large language model within the larger LLM of the organism's genomic code. Just as an LLM in artificial intelligence processes and generates language based on learned patterns, mitochondria process and generate energy based on the patterns encoded in their DNA. They act as adaptive networks within the larger bioelectric network, functioning as switchboard operators that manage the energy needs of the cell and ensure the stability of the bioelectric signals that keep the organism alive. Studies have shown that mitochondrial function is crucial for maintaining the bioelectric stability of cells. When mitochondria are damaged or their function is disrupted, the bioelectric network can become unstable, leading to a breakdown in cellular communication and the emergence of cancer. This highlights the importance of maintaining mitochondrial health to prevent the kind of cellular confusion that can lead to disease. The disruptive impact of entropic waste. Defining entropic waste. Entropic waste refers to the disruptive and disorderly impact of external stressors on the bioelectric networks that maintain life within a multicellular organism. One of the most significant sources of entropic waste in our modern environment is electromagnetic radiation, such as that emitted by cell phones and other wireless devices. This radiation can create chaos within the bioelectric networks of cells, leading to a breakdown in communication and the emergence of diseases like cancer. Introduction to entropic waste. Electromagnetic radiation is a form of energy that can disrupt the normal functioning of bioelectric networks. When cells are exposed to this radiation, it can interfere with the electric and magnetic potentials that they use to communicate and maintain their identity within the organism. This disruption can lead to the production of reactive oxygen species, or ROS, and the destabilization of voltage potentials, or VMEM, across cell membranes, creating a state of confusion within the cell. Numerous studies have shown that exposure to electromagnetic radiation can have adverse effects on cellular function. For example, research has demonstrated that radiation can increase the production of reactive oxygen species, or ROS, which can damage cellular components and disrupt normal cell signaling. Other studies have shown that radiation can alter the membrane potential, known as VMM, leading to changes in cellular behavior and the breakdown of bioelectric networks. The impact of entropic waste on bioelectric networks is profound. When cells are exposed to electromagnetic radiation, the bioelectric signals that they rely on for communication and coordination can become distorted. This distortion can lead to a misalignment between the affected cells and the evolutionary stressors they are adapted to handle, causing them to lose their place within the organism and revert to more primitive behaviors. The production of ROS and the disruption of VMM caused by radiation exposure can lead to significant changes in cellular behavior. Cells that are normally cooperative and aligned with the needs of the organism may begin to prioritize their own survival, much like their ancient unicellular ancestors. This regression can trigger the development of cancer, as cells lose their ability to function as part of a cohesive unit and begin to multiply uncontrollably. Scientific support. Research has shown that the changes induced by electromagnetic radiation can lead to the kind of cellular confusion that is characteristic of cancer. Studies have demonstrated that exposure to radiation can increase the likelihood of cells undergoing malignant transformation, highlighting the link between entropic waste and the development of cancer. The dangerous regression of cellular goals. From cooperation to chaos. In a healthy multicellular organism, cells work together to maintain homeostasis and ensure the survival of the organism. This cooperation is mediated by bioelectric signals, which allow cells to communicate and coordinate their activities. However, when these signals are disrupted by entropic waste, the cooperative behavior that is essential for multicellular life can break down, leading to chaos. Cancer as a breakdown in cellular communication. When cells lose their ability to communicate effectively with one another, they can no longer function as part of a cohesive unit. Instead, they begin to operate independently, much like their ancient unicellular ancestors. This breakdown in communication can lead to the uncontrolled growth and proliferation of cancer cells, as they prioritize their own survival over the needs of the organism. Scientific support. Studies have shown that cancer is often associated with disruptions in bioelectric communication. Research has demonstrated that changes in VMM and other bioelectric signals can lead to the breakdown of cellular cooperation and the emergence of cancerous behaviors. Implications for cancer treatment. The recognition that cancer is not just a genetic disease, but also a breakdown in bioelectric communication, opens up new possibilities for treatment. Instead of solely targeting the genetic mutations within cancer cells, therapies could focus on restoring the bioelectric patterns that help cells maintain their proper identity and function within the organism. Restoring bioelectric patterns. One promising approach to cancer treatment involves the use of bioelectric therapies to restore normal cell signaling. By re-establishing the bioelectric communication that has been disrupted by entropic waste, these therapies could help prevent the cellular confusion that leads to cancer. Minimizing exposure to entropic waste. In addition to restoring bioelectric patterns, it is also important to minimize exposure to environmental stressors like electromagnetic radiation. By reducing the amount of entropic waste in our environment, we can help protect the bioelectric networks that are essential for maintaining the stability and function of multicellular organisms. Scientific support. Research on bioelectric therapies and the impact of environmental factors on cancer development supports the idea that restoring bioelectric patterns and minimizing exposure to entropic waste could be effective strategies for preventing and treating cancer. The bigger picture, life as an entropic anomaly. Life as an entropic anomaly. Life is often described as an entropic anomaly within space-time, where the organization of bioelectric patterns defies the natural tendency toward disorder. While the universe as a whole tends toward increasing entropy, living organisms maintain their structure and function through the intricate organization of bioelectric patterns. Bioelectric patterns as life's blueprint. The bioelectric patterns that organize and maintain life are the blueprint for the structural and functional integrity of living organisms. These patterns allow life to exist and thrive in a universe that would otherwise tend toward disorder. However, this delicate balance can be disrupted by entropic waste, leading to the breakdown of bioelectric communication and the emergence of disease. Scientific and philosophical implications. The idea of life as an entropic anomaly challenges traditional views of life and consciousness. It suggests that life is not just a byproduct of biochemical reactions, but a complex, organized system that defies the natural tendency toward disorder. This perspective has profound implications for our understanding of life and the role of bioelectric networks in maintaining the stability and function of living organisms. Protecting life's bioelectric network. The bioelectric networks that sustain life are under constant threat from entropic waste. Protecting these networks is essential for maintaining the stability and function of living organisms. The role of bioelectric networks in sustaining life. Bioelectric networks are the foundation of life, providing the organizational framework that allows cells to function together as a cohesive unit. These networks are responsible for maintaining the structure and function of living organisms, ensuring that they can survive and thrive in a universe that tends toward disorder. The threat of entropic waste. Entropic waste, particularly in the form of electromagnetic radiation, poses a significant threat to the stability of bioelectric networks. By disrupting the electric and magnetic potentials that cells use to communicate, entropic waste can lead to the breakdown of cellular cooperation and the emergence of diseases like cancer. Scientific and policy recommendations. To protect life's bioelectric networks, it is essential to continue researching the impact of electromagnetic radiation and other forms of entropic waste on cellular function. Regulatory bodies must update guidelines to minimize exposure to these environmental stressors, and individuals should take steps to reduce their exposure to sources of entropic waste. Rethinking cancer in the modern world. As we continue to uncover the complexities of cancer, it is becoming clear that the disease is not just about genetic mutations. It is also about how cells perceive their environment through bioelectric signals and maintain their place within the body. By viewing cancer as a cellular identity crisis and recognizing the role of modern environmental factors in triggering this crisis, we can better understand how to protect ourselves. Minimizing exposure to entropic waste such as electromagnetic radiation might be a key strategy in preventing cancer and maintaining the delicate bioelectric balance that keeps our cells and us healthy. Additionally, the development of new therapies that restore bioelectric communication could offer promising new avenues for the treatment and prevention of cancer. In this new understanding of cancer, we see a convergence of biology, physics, and even philosophy, challenging us to rethink the foundations of life and health in the context of an increasingly chaotic world. The time has come to protect and preserve the bioelectric networks that sustain life, ensuring that we continue to thrive in the face of the many challenges that lie ahead.